campers, how the devil are you? You join me on a quick New Year's Day walk 2023. And what a year it was, 2022. And for a lot of us, we're quite glad that it's behind us. So I'm just going to do a circuit of the city centre, I think, today. Just pretty much follow the inner ring road and just go on a slightly different route to normal. The river to my right hand side, heading into the city centre, and just see where my feet take me. Today, of course, my feet are clad in some new boots. Thought I needed something a bit warmer for winter walks, and so I went to go outdoors, and this is what I bought. They are Peter Storm waterproof leather boots. So far very cosy and warm. Reduced to £35. Well, let's see just how good they are. For £35, you can't really go wrong anyway, can you? The river is very high today. Obviously we've had quite a bit of rain recently. There's a good swell, especially in the middle of it where it's probably quite deep. And I imagine quite cold, so you wouldn't want to fall in there. Just see the width of it over there as it heads into the city centre. In places the river's quite interesting because when you look over to the other side of the bank there, despite all the building work that's gone on over the years, you can still see the original, what must have been quite a steep bank, rock bank to the river. I'd love to be able to go back in time and 100 years, 200 years, and just see what the whole place looks like around then. Obviously no buildings, no bridges. Only time travel possible, eh? Unrecognisable from a couple of years ago. Used to be just wasteland car park over there, and now it's like the new CIS co-op building. It's weird. It's weird how quickly we've changed the planet. The old Smithfield Market Hall there, repurposed these days as a venue for bars and food. Smithfield Market Tavern. Lots of old buildings around here. Like I said before, it'd be great to be able to go back in time and see what they were all used for, and now we're juxtapositioned against all these modern, horrible, ugly things. Such a shame as well when you see old buildings like that. Is that Georgian? Obviously a very grand corner, probably a pub at one point, judging by the looks of it. Amazing architecture, and yet you look up above the shop front on the ground floor and it's just looks rotten, looks damp, mildewy, probably just used for storage, I guess. Such a shame. Another thing that's a shame is the new buildings that are built to replace them. I mean, flats don't have to look like hospital buildings, do they? They spend all that money putting them up. Just everywhere, as far as the eye can see, these big, square, oblong, ugly things, really. And when you compare them to something like that, which was obviously a massive Victorian mill at some point, yes, you can see the similarities, big, tall, oblong. Perhaps the mill has slightly bigger windows, and there's just extra finials and I don't know the technical terms for all the little decorations that are put on the building. It just gives it that extra character, even though it's a relic of the industrial age. Compared to the new ones over there, it's got something about it. No doubt this morning, 1st of January 23, all these hundreds of identical terrible flats will be full of young 20 and 30 year olds nursing their heads after the extravagant parties of last night. Me personally, I just stayed in with a couple of glasses of red wine and a nice steak and mushrooms. That was enough for me. Can't stand New Year. It's always a bit of a letdown in my opinion. So as we leave Great Ancoat Street behind me, and most of the residential new builds come to an end, and in front of me now we have Pin Mill Brow, presumably because at some point there was a pin mill there. That'd be my guess. And just on our right, as I cross over, is a street which I can never remember the name of. Let's have a quick look. Oh yeah, the aptly named Helmet Street, because as far as I remember, at least 15-20 years ago, this was the street where at night, if you wanted some ladies of the night, that's where you would go and find them. And just over this wall to the right hand side is the river. I'm guessing where the mill drew its water from. This is the River Medlock, and it doesn't look a very clean one, but if you want a bit more information about the history of this river, go check out Martin Zero's channel. He does all sorts of things. He did a whole series of videos about the River Medlock, and it continues over the other side of the river, the other side of the road, through that wooded area over there, which looks idyllic from here. If you check out my one of my previous videos, you'll realise it's one of the most polluted rubbish dump forests you'll ever see in the outskirts of Manchester. To be honest with you, I expected the traffic to be a lot less today. I know I'm walking around the Ring Road, but I expect, it's New Year's Day, Sunday, no one's working. Very few people are working, at least. I thought most people would be in bed nursing their hangovers, like I mentioned earlier, but it's very busy, this inner Ring Road. So it's difficult to try and voice my thoughts before the next wave comes along. I'll try and find somewhere to get off-piste in a minute and talk to you properly. What the fuck's that all about? So right over in the distance, just above my blurry finger there, you can see the CIS tower where we were half an hour ago. So we've come a full circuit of the city centre and back down onto the Ring Road now. You can see Depot Mayfield over there. That used to be was an extra train station akin to next to Piccadilly train station at one point, but was then neglected and not used. But you can see it also down there in that valley. It looks like they're redeveloping the banks of the River Medlock down there and turning it into a little bit of a park, which is a nice idea. And then as you pan round, you can see I'm going to have to come off the Ring Road a little bit here because it turns into the Mancunian Way, the flyover that runs the breadth of the southern hemisphere of Manchester city centre. Nice to see still under here as well. A few years ago they turned the undercroft of the flyover into like a little skating park, which is great. It's quite big as well, quite extensive, goes a long way back. Little office there, maybe a little cafe it seems on that raised level. Good it's being put to use. They should do things with more of the undercarriages of motorways and such like. I'm forced, there's no path along the along or under the flyover there, so I'm going to have to risk it for a biscuit to an estate that I'm not familiar with, and take my chances if there's a way through. Finally made it through. Looks like a bit of a gated community back there, so I had to come a bit further down the road and to cut through. So how was your 2022, guys? Bit of a mixed bag, wasn't it, really? Globally and nationally, and probably personally for a lot of people too. Thankfully the end of the COVID debacle, convid as some people called it, came to an end, and things started to open up again. Pubs opening up, shops opening up, travel to other countries opening up. That was a whole just waste of time and money, in my opinion. As was the pathetic coverage of the Ukraine-Russia war. I'm no expert on all the details of it, but wars are only run really for the benefit of the people behind the scenes that are selling all the weapons, and maybe there's some political things going on there, but I'm sure there's good reasons for the war on both sides. So, you know, my only take on the whole thing of the Ukraine-Russia war was that war shouldn't happen to start with. It's a pathetic waste of lives, pathetic waste of money, creates so much misery, and so why do it in the first place? Why argue over little patches of land? Just let everyone live on the planet how they want to live. That's what my opinion about it is. One thing that does annoy me though is how everyone in the West, all the media in the West, are jumping on the bandwagon of the Ukrainians and saying, oh, aren't they hard done by, let's help them out, and let's host a family and all that sort of stuff. Bollocks. There's normal, ordinary people in Russia that are going through the same thing. Yeah, it's the corrupt politicians and leaders at the top of organising these things that want to be punished and put in jail or flogged in the street with rotten vegetables in the stocks. That's my opinion about it all anyway. What else happened? Well, the Queen died for a start. That was a shock to everybody. Even I was sad about it, and I didn't consider myself to be that much of a royal, really. I think I kind of can see the benefits of a country that has a monarchy. It's always gone against my grain a little bit, the fact that they own so much wealth and that they have such privileged lifestyles, and the places that they live and what they can claim is theirs and everything else, when us minions are just doing all the hard work and getting no gratification for it. But anyway, you know, I even had a bit of a sad moment when I'd heard she'd gone, especially since we now know who's replaced her. But you know, that's by the by. Hopefully Charles passes it on to William sooner rather than later. Seems to be the only places that are open today. Domino's, pizzas, news agents and the occasional takeaway. Having lived with a narcissist and dealt with them, the ins and outs of how they operate for most of my childhood, all of my childhood, and some of my adult life, I can spot the signs of one straight away. And for anyone that still panders to the Meghan Markle princess fairy tale, I think you need to have a reality check. They're both debasing the royal family, shaming the royal family, and they won't come out on top of it. And you only need to type in Meghan Markle or Harry into YouTube search engine, and I can guarantee you that 99.9% of the videos on there are just slagging her off, slagging them both off and saying what an awful, evil pair they really are. That's my thought about them. getting lost down the back streets of Hume, which is not something that I relish really, although it does seem to have improved a bit, and there's lots more student accommodation than there used to be. So I'm meandering my way back towards the Mancunian Way now. You see the tower blocks of the city centre looming up behind me, and try and complete the final leg of the circuit around Manchester. By better judgment, I'm going to go over this bridge which goes right over the motorway. If you've watched previous videos, you know I'm not very good with heights, especially bridges that go over fast running traffic at quite a high level, which this one seems to be, but I'm going to do my best. Can you see? That's why I don't like it. Just a tiny bit of wood with a hole in it separating you from death down below. And even less of a barricade that side. It's horrible. Oh, thank God for that. Down we go. Some of these tower blocks now are just ginormous. I mean, that must be about 30 floors high at the moment. They haven't even finished it yet. I'm on floor 13 of 15 and it scares me looking out the window. Look at those over there. I think that one is getting on for 62 floors. It's not a fun prospect if the lifts are out of order, is it? The other thing that makes me wonder, and I've mentioned this before, is just, I mean, is there 50 floors each, right? And there's like minimum six flats on each floor, probably more. That's 300 people in each block, bare minimum. Where are they all coming from and what are they doing? And some very small ones near me, and this is going back 10 years ago probably, were going for like 99,000 for very tiny little things. In a 8-floor story building, I think. So it makes you wonder, like, who's actually buying these places? They must be like 150, 200 grand each. Who's paying that money? What sort of job do you have to? You must have to have like a 60 grand at least a year mortgage to be able to get a job, salary to get a mortgage like that. So what jobs are they doing? I mean, I've gone from a fairly well-paid teaching job to being made redundant. Yeah, over the last few years I've been slammed down through redundancy and COVID and everything into a minimum wage job working in a bar, which is, I was very grateful for, but it's something that I'm going to have to do something about because I need challenging my life. So 2023 for me is going to be a year of challenging myself more, career-wise, get back into teaching or teacher training, and really make the most of it, make the most of my time off, and maybe even get a car if the rail strikes continue, and get myself out into places I haven't been before, push my boundaries, Scotland, Wales, long distance walks, maybe even France or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to 2023. And just as I'm filming myself in the middle of this Castlefield Basin, I think it's called, it's usually where I end up on my walks, and you pan round at all the industrial heritage this way. You pan round at all the Victorian architecture and all the railway architecture and the beautiful basin with the canals in it, and then behind me they're building this new building. Look. What an ugly monstrosity that is. Why are they building that here? Looks like a council estate from the 70s. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling for one day. Kind of back at the place that I almost came to an end on yesterday's video, although I think I filmed it the day before. It's been good to get out though, good to talk to myself on the phone, and I'm looking forward to the next one already. Looking forward to what the year has in store, and I wish you all the very best, anyone that watches. Good luck with your careers, your loves, your finances and your leisure activities, and let's make it a good one for the whole world. Oh, by the way folks, what New Year's resolutions have you got, and are you going to keep them? Mine this year are I'm going to try not drink for January at least, see how that goes. Maybe pencil in the rest of the year if it goes well. Maybe try and at least cut down, if not stop smoking this year at some point. Although I think I'll have to do the drinking first. I'm going to learn French and maybe take up a class, if I can get a conversation class to fit around my work. What else am I going to do? Try growing my hair maybe? It's not a resolution though, is it? Well, let's see how we go with those to start with, eh? Yeah, and thanks for watching. See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And in the description below, if you fancy buying me a coffee, you can do that through my Ko-fi account. All helps. Thanks very much. Take care.